This is the Head Rush Podcast with Paul Fraze and Corey Berry.
Welcome to the Head Rush Podcast. I'm Corey Berry, and I'm with my co-host,
Paul Fraze.
And Paul Fraze played in the NFL for 11 years.
Yes.
11 years.
11 years. The average playing time expectancy, I think, is still about 3.5. Our guest might be able to tell us, share with us, because I know he knows a lot of people in that arena.
Hopefully you know more.
I don't know. Well, you just check the box. So.
And I rode professional rodeo for 9 years. At the Head Rush Podcast, we talk about everything related to brain trauma, brain health, and wellness. We talk about traumatic brain injury, TBIs, chronic traumatic encephalopathy, CTE, traumatic encephalopathy syndrome, TES, and repeated head impacts, RHI, and repeated blast exposure, RBE. We cover how traumatic brain injuries can and will cause mental health issues such as depression, addiction, lack of executive function, memory loss, even suicide ideation, as well as degenerative neurological issues. These symptoms can be found on the Mayo Clinic and Boston University's websites under symptoms of CTE. Our mantra is how to cope and find hope. We focus our energy on finding therapies and sharing hope through education and raising awareness. So, Paul, we have quite the guest joining us today. It's going to be horrible for someone like me because there's going to be two New Yorkers on this. So why don't you go ahead and tell us about it?
Well, I was not allowed to say I was from New York because I was upstate. I was born in Elmira, and
Ain't that a song? Elmira?
No, Elvira. Yeah. Well, our guest, I think, was born down in the city, or at least south of Elmira, right? So, Mike, I smartened up. I moved my family to New Hampshire at 2 years old. So, well, and the competition was less because there was only 100,000 people in New Hampshire, and I only had to, to get the NFL. There's no competition. So, hey, I'm going to say your name really quick, Mike Dempsey, and I'm going to say that he's one of those people that you look at them and you say, it would take 10 lifetimes for me to do what he's done, and he's still only in his 50s or 60s. So,
well, he hasn't been to the Great Wall of China yet.
Well, I was going to ask him, what haven't you done? And you just you're a spoiler, Corey. Gosh, what haven't you done? And we were talking earlier, and Mike said he's not walked on the Great Wall of China. But Mike, before I read the litany of what you've done, you've never walked on the Great Wall, but what's going to happen this summer?
March 15th, actually, my daughter and I are going to the Great Wall of China. We're going to Shanghai, Beijing, and Seoul. And that was a bucket list. I've done every continent except for Antarctica. So did Japan with my daughter. And I said, man, I got to do China. And now my daughter's getting me to Korea. But we'll have the Great Wall of China. I'll have a picture in a few months. I'm excited.
That's awesome. Now, I went to Japan twice, once in a senior all-star game and once to play. It was when I was with the Packers in the preseason. We played Kansas City. I would go back to Tokyo in a second. I really enjoyed that. What was your experience in Japan?
Very little English speaking going on there. So let's just say I don't know how Google Translator works, and I talk fast as a Brooklynite. So when I talk,
funny accent.
The accent, just asking directions, and just a lot of interesting moments happened. I was with my older daughter, and getting around Tokyo. We did Tokyo Disney, but the other stuff was a challenge because of the language issues, asking directions or subway or all that kind of stuff.
Right.
Yeah, we had quite a time there. But I love Tokyo. The food, great culture. But need a little more Brooklynese there. That's what I'm thinking. But,
Just like a New Yorker.
How could you say more Brooklynese?
In Japanese.
Them guys, I mean, they're like, you goomba.
Oh, no. Lord, no, we don't know which side of the family he's on, so let's calm down, okay?
The anti-goomba side?
Hey, really quick, again, I'm going to start reading your background. Really quick, were you a Giants or a Jets fan?
I grew up a Jets fan, man. You'll love me for that. I'm still a diehard Jet fan, but I don't think I'll see a Super Bowl in my lifetime.
I hope you do. I hope we do.
So let me ask a question.
Yeah.
Do you remember Paul Frey's playing?
Of course I did. I mean, Leslie Walker's one of my best friends. I mean, the 80s Jets were in the 90s. I mean, I watched all those games, and Dennis Byrd I got to know pretty well, and I'm still in touch with his wife, Angela. No, I'm a diehard. I mean, one of my favorite teams was the 85 Bears. I have to confess that Jim McMahon's one of my best buddies, and that 85 Bears team just was incredible. But overall, I'm still a Jet fan. Always a diehard Jet fan.
I just wanted to make sure that someone actually knew a defensive.
He's being kind. He's being kind. I did start about 49 games while I was with 45 while I was with the Jets, and I had a lot of fun, and the fans were awesome. You poor people. Oh my gosh. Every year you'd get excited and we'd get excited and then we'd suck, and it was tough. I'm sorry.
Well, you missed the banter with Bernie Kosar, was one of my dear friends. And every time around Bernie, I'd work with Joe Namath's golf outing, and he had to bring up 1986
Mark
to a bunch
of
guys.
Yeah. Third and 18 or what? What was it?
Yeah, it was that roughing the passer, Gastineau, that and Bernie, obviously, the Browns made it to, but then their heart got broken by John Elway, so it just happens. Browns fans have, like Jet fans, they've suffered and suffered and suffered, and we keep suffering. So,
when it comes to Gastineau, the only thing I think about now is that video. When he's in his 50s and he goes to Brett Favre and say, I want my sack back.
Yeah, that was tough. That was tough. I truly think he should have gotten into wrestling. He could have been Hulk Hogan's arch nemesis instead of the boxing. But anyway, that's
Hulk. What was another?
yeah, exactly.
He short-lived wrestling career too, so I can relate that. When I left, I was in Tampa, and they were like, "Oh, you make a good wrestler. You're good on the," but I had the mic skills, but I didn't have the physical skills to take back bumps and all the crazy stuff those guys do. So that was a week and a half at the WCW power plant after the NFL, and I failed. Wrestling is not fake. I don't care what they say choreographed. The stuff I went through that week was pretty serious. Still feeling it today. So,
well, I'm gonna attempt to do you justice. It's not gonna happen, but we're gonna talk for the next 52 minutes, okay? And if you will grace us with your presence. But the word resiliency defines the journey of Mike Dempsey. Mike Dempsey was born and raised in Brooklyn, New York. And New York, Flatbush, Kensington. He attended Midwood High School. Yeah. And he went to the University of New York at Albany. He played football. He played baseball. You played two sports in college?
I did. In high school, they didn't let me play the two sports. I'll tell you what, baseball was my first love. And I'll get to the Yankee stuff after we talk football. I was better athlete in baseball and didn't get to play in high school because the coach only allowed us to play one sport. And in college, when I got up to Albany, actually in my freshman year, I played third base all the way through my junior year, then labrum tear, and that was the end of my I couldn't throw from third base to first base, and stay with football. Probably smarter move, but I think I would have gone further in baseball. But
right.
You look back and you say, who knows? Everything is a matter of timing and opportunity, right? So an opportunity knocks, you got to be there. So
that labrum is one of the hardest tendons or ligament. Is it a tendon or a ligament? Whatever it is, it's one of the hardest parts in the body to fix, I think.
You can only imagine throwing from third base, and I was throwing to first, and I always made that. I had a gun of an arm, and then all of a sudden the ball was sailing left, right into the stands. So
oh God,
yeah, it was. You know, it was like a rainbow when I had to throw the ball. I had to throw it on its arc, and then obviously anybody who had some decent speed could beat me out. So, yeah, it was but I got to play baseball. We'll get to that later, you know, into your 40s, and got to live the dream, put on the Yankee uniform.
Well, did you? Oh, wow. Okay. Well, we got to hear that. So we got
to reel Paul back in.
Yeah,
on
exactly.
That.
So
let's get this bio.
Well, football, baseball, and you boxed as an amateur. Every year you were a kid, you boxed as an amateur, right? And
not pretty good. This name Dempsey, you know, I wear it on my shirt so I don't forget my name. You know, when you have brain injury. I'm kidding, but no, the Dempsey, you know, but doing Jack Dempsey justice, you know, that name was always so. As an amateur, when I had graduated college, in between my ACL tears, I had tried amateur boxing 1 and 3, wasn't that successful, and then we'll get to later. In my 50 years old or so, I was very good friends with a guy named Jerry Cooney. He was the great hope in the early 80s fighting Larry Holmes, and we decided to do a charity boxing match, Cooney and Dempsey, and long story there, but I finished the story. Still have got the impact on a couple of head impacts from, but I'm proud of the fact that I did something for a 2.5-3 year journey and closed a chapter on boxing and did a credible performance in the ring for a guy who was an amateur against a 3-time cruiserweight champion named Richie the Mountain LaMontagne out of Everett, Massachusetts. And Richie was definitely a hell of an opponent and made me feel the pain. I'm still feeling Richie's body punches 3 years later.
Well, so you actually you had dreams and hopes of an NFL career. You did have you stopped in Tampa Bay for a little bit in 95, 96. Yeah, and you had one of your first of 2 ACL reconstructive surgeries. What were those years? Was that back in 96, 97, or?
Well, arena football was 93 with the Albany Firebirds, you know, so I played football up in Albany. We were Division III, and because I switched schools from Boston University to Brew to Albany, I lost credits, long story short. Graduated in summer of 93, but the Firebirds were training at our facility at practice field, and they had a couple of guys that they lost for the season. So I was an available body, not that I was the best drafted guy, but I was an available middle linebacker and got the opportunity. I was a professional football player overnight at 21 years old, and thought I was going to have these dreams of playing and have a 15-year or 11-year career like you, Paul, but blew up my ACL 3 weeks later, meniscus as well, MCL, but one of the worst. The first one was the most horrific injury. When I hear 2 pops and you know you can't even stand, and you just know that. And it took me about 1.5 years or so with the cadaver graft that I got to really start to feel like I had some stability and can still do. But by that time, I'd given up on a career. But, you know, we get to finding your helpers, but I was very lucky that through some friends, one guy notably named Lee Steinberg, got the opportunity to play with Tampa in 1995. But let's just say that didn't go as well as I had hoped, because Sam Weiss was the head coach, and God rest his soul, Sam. But I didn't get out of training room the whole year. I was on the physically unable to perform list. 96, they made the change, obviously, as you know, to a guy named Tony Dungy, incredible man that Coach Dungy is, and got to be on the practice squad for the Bucks in 96. Guy who I really loved was Herm Edwards. Out of all we had some amazing coaches, Lovie Smith, all the greatest coaching guys you could ever, Monty Kiffin. 96 was a Hall of Fame year of coaches that Tony had accumulated, but Herm was my guy, you know, and unfortunately, as it got started, I tore meniscus in my left knee and released in October of 96, and then tried professional wrestling, didn't go very well, and had to get a corporate job in 1997, and that's how I got into corporate. But at the same time, I was living in Tampa and started to do some community stuff with the New York Yankees, and got to be around the ballpark. Spring training had just moved from Fort Lauderdale to Tampa, and although corporate was paying me the money, sports was my passion, and got to work with a guy named Ray Negron under Hank Steinbrenner, George Steinbrenner, and his son, and did a lot of community work with Hank Shanks and some other organizations. And started to play baseball in competitive tournaments and did some of those, what do they call them, the fantasy camps, but mostly competitive tournaments to raise money for charity, Boys and Girls Club and some other organizations. So got to put on the pinstripes, and I will say in Old Timers Day in 2015, I got to play in a game, a New York Yankees Old Timers Day in Scranton at the AAA complex. And I got up in the plate 1-for-1. I pinch hit for Gene Stick Michael, who was 77 years old at the time. He was facing a guy named Jeff Nelson, 6'8" pitcher, sidearm pitcher. And I got a hit, and the whole time I'm 1-for-1 in my major league career. I think I should be in the Hall of Fame in Cooperstown.
Batting 1,000, kid.
Got to do that on Father's Day in front of my children. And when you're in the locker room and you got Reggie Jackson, Joe Pepitone, and Don Larson, all these Hall of Fame legends, and you're playing on a team with those guys, incredibly gratifying experience, once in a lifetime. So for one day, I felt like I was a major league baseball player, and I still don't. And it's still unbelievable that I was able to accomplish that. But as the years go by, I'm like grateful that I had that opportunity.
Corey, that's like you going to the San Francisco 49ers and then them having you put a jersey on and play for a day. So, New Yorkers and Yankees. No, back then.
You put a 49er jersey on me?
Now?
No, even back then. Back in my time, you're talking Montana, Rice, Craig. Jesus Christ.
Well,
they say, hey, you want to put on a jersey and go get hit by these guys? I'd say, All
right. So Mike did this along with completing an executive MBA in finance at Nova Southeastern University with a 3.97 GPA.
How is that possible?
Summa cum laude.
I cheated. Don't kid me. It was actually, I got to admit, it was a group it's funny now kids have their phones, and my daughters, they all do this thing. They go on Google and they get the answers. Well, back then I was working at Solomon Brothers as a Wall Street firm, and they had this executive MBA program. They flew the professors to us. It was free and prepaid tuition, and all of us honestly collaborated on our coursework. So best GPA I ever had in my whole life. So I left on top because undergrad, I think I was maybe a 2.8, 2.76. So I was never a great student. So I finished at the peak, and that's why I never will do any schoolwork or coursework. After I got that, I said, no, I won't do anything in the classroom because I finished on that good note. So
that's unbelievable. So yeah, this is a great little introduction. It just keeps going on and on. If you've been told it's all in your head, but deep down you know something is wrong, listen closely. Brain fog, depression, anxiety, irritability, even PTSD. These are not just mental issues. They may be signals of neuroinflammation and hormonal disruption, root causes that traditional medicine often ignores. At the Millennium Health Centers, founded by Dr. Mark Gordon, they have helped veterans, athletes, and everyday people restore brain function using a medical process called the Millennium Protocol. Take their free brain health assessment at tbihelpnow.org and discover if inflammation, not weakness, is holding you back. You're not broken, you're unbalanced, and balance can be restored. This is one that I know Mike has talked about, a tragedy that he was involved with that we all remember very well. Mike was actually involved with the September 11th, 2001 in New York.
Credits was First Boston at the time. So originally, the irony of the story about resiliency and talking about that was I relocated back to New York with Smith Barney after they took over Solomon Brothers, and then I was working for Payne Weber after that, and I got this opportunity to work for Cantor Fitzgerald, and their story on 9/11. They lost their employees at the World Trade Center. And I had this other opportunity to work for Credit Suisse First Boston in the World Trade Center, but working at 5 World Trade Center. Cantor would have had me on the 101st floor in Tower 1, and I wouldn't be here talking to you guys. We know what happened on that morning. So Cantor Fitzgerald, I've done work with. I've been part of the Cantor family for 24 and a half years, but I never worked for them. And I'll get to that later. It's amazing in life to become part of a family that you really weren't. But I've done all this charity work for them for the last 24 and a half years out of probably survivor guilt, because everybody up there died that morning. But my story was I was working for Credit Suisse. My wife worked for Marsh McLennan, and they were on Tower 100 floor, but she was late to work. I didn't know that. We had new cell phones at the time. This is when cell phones were just coming out and didn't really communicate or text. And I was there in the building when the first plane hit. Felt the full impact. 5 was connected to 1. It was a 9-story building. And actually, I think the engine of the first plane landed in our building. I didn't know that. I just know from Wikipedia, it'll tell you that. But we evacuated pretty quickly, everybody in our building. But I went into One World Trade Center to look to find my wife. Of course, they wouldn't let me up there. And when I got down, I didn't know a plane hit the building. So people always ask me I didn't hear. All I could hear was the sound. We didn't have TVs in the World Trade Center to watch what was going on, or NBC News and Matt Lauer. Ended up going to the World Trade Center Mall, through the courtyard where they were going to have a concert that night. And the World Trade Center Tuesday nights were concerts. And I heard the impact of people jumping because you could hear the bam, boom, the noises, but still did not know what was really happening in real time. As I got into World Trade Center Tower 1 at like about 9 o'clock, again, trying to get up to see my wife, and they wouldn't let me. So I went outside by actually other side of the building, close to the 2 World Trade Center, by a record store named Sam Goody, to use my phone to get a signal. So I couldn't get a signal. And it was 9:03 at that point, and the second plane was barreling right over the Bankers Trust building, and I was right under it. And don't remember anything. I was knocked out. I was knocked face forward, so I hit this part of the head. And I don't remember anything till I woke up in City Hall Park, which was about 3 blocks away. So picture somebody would have had to lift a 230-pound guy, whether it was a civilian or a policeman or a fire department. Who knows? Oh, I don't remember anything for that 30-minute period. I remember barely getting into Beekman, NYU Downtown Hospital. I forget what they call it now, but I was just visited there recently. It's still there. By Gold Street, but near the Brooklyn Bridge. And that's where I was in a triage outdoors when, obviously, I had a fractured skull, internal bleeding. Did not know I had a fractured skull. I did know I had a hard Irish head absorbed. But, that morning was just a lot of stuff going on. Didn't know what was happening, what it was, terrorism, or I do remember somebody saying, "Oh, a third plane is coming." Thinking like, what third plane? Where was the first 2 planes? I didn't understand any of that. So even though I did see the second plane hit into the building, I didn't remember that by the time I got to the hospital. Again, when you have a hard head injury, you don't remember things that you should, right? But I do remember when Tower 2 collapsed first, that debris cloud came toward the Brooklyn Bridge. Where the other Tower 1, when it collapsed, I think went a different direction. So I do remember being outdoors, and I remember the debris cloud when just heard the noise. And that within minutes, as I was in this outdoor triage at Beekman, got in my eyes, and I couldn't see for about 5-10 minutes. Thought I was blinded, thought it was a nuclear holocaust is what I thought it was. You remember those movies when we were growing up, the Day After movie, and thinking, oh my God, the world is over. Didn't even know. And I just remember that day, my wife and I didn't speak to each other or see each other till 6 p.m. when they transferred me to Long Island. I thought she died and she thought I died. She couldn't get a hold of me. I couldn't get a hold of her. So it was one of those like 10 hours where I gave her number to the detective or the police, whatever guy at the hospital. And it was a World Trade Center phone number. So obviously they weren't going to reach her. I'm not thinking the World Trade Center collapsed, but we couldn't get a hold of each other. She tried me at St. Vincent's. I wasn't there. I was at the downtown hospital, and they transferred me to Mercy Medical in Rockville Center. And I was there for 3-4 more days. But that was the first real serious. I had concussions, prior to that. I would say, because I played middle linebacker and I was one of those guys that speared, I probably had 4 or 5. When I was at Boston University CTE center, they go through how many concussions have you had in your lifetime. And I had to go back from being a little kid, even at baseball, when I got beamed in the head. That was a concussion. I was knocked out. Anytime you get knocked out, like what we called back then, concussions now are different in the terminology. Back when we were younger, we were called stingers. Like we were just wouldn't call it concussion, but now you're like, Man, I think we got up to 19 is where I think I don't want to get to 20. So I said 19. I want to fall under that 20 number, but yeah, definitely 9/11 was the biggest impact injury to my brain. And I would say, after that, I more had the mental health challenges, the PTSD and all the other stuff that went along with it. And so, I'm doing all this stuff, the baseball, all the stuff with the Yankees and continuing sports and playing flag football with the NFL alumni. I'm doing all the boxing, which we can get a little more into the boxing saga. And then, it was a flag football injury 2 years ago, July of 2023. NFL alumni were sponsoring flag football in Auckland, New Zealand. And me being over in Sydney with my daughter, I said, let me get a free trip to Auckland, check out New Zealand. And I should have coached, but part Irish lad, I decided to play and caught an interception and got pushed into a metal bench on the sideline, knocked out for maybe under 30 seconds. Thought nothing of it. We'll get to the stuff about medical treatment, getting it right away. I kind of refused being treated at a hospital there because, when you're in New Zealand, your medical insurance doesn't cover that. You don't know what your bill is going to be. So I kind of downplayed the injury as much as I could. So, because we were flying out the next day, Auckland to LAX, LAX to Denver, Denver to Raleigh. So remember that trip. And be honest, the Auckland to LAX trip I didn't really feel anything that bad with my daughter. And then it was the LA to Denver trip, which is like less than an hour, 45 minutes, where I started getting a little bit of that nausea, thinking, okay, a little jet lag or whatever. It was the flight back from Denver to Raleigh where I started to really feel something was changed, where I was very sick and not feeling good. And then by the time I got home a couple of days later, started having that, what we call the brain fog, and the vertigo was the scariest because, when you get that when you're driving and you get vertigo, that's when ended up getting vertigo in the shower. Like I would get in the shower, you put your head up and all of a sudden the thing starts spinning, or if you're laying down in your bed, that's scary. But when you're driving and you get vertigo, it's even scarier because you can lose control of your vehicle like I did. And then sleeping became hard. I had chronic fatigue, but I couldn't sleep. And thanks for Chris Nowinski, the CLF hotline. Chris, I know for many years through Gridiron Greats. I do a lot with Coach Ditka's Gridiron Greats Assistance Fund. And then I'm on the other side where I'm helping an organization, and now I'm the one who needs help. And I'm like going to Gridiron Greats and Chris, and the hotline hooked me up with the neurologist in Duke, who was able to see me pretty quickly and tell me that I'm not crazy, that I have some pretty serious issues. So I was very lucky to have the benefit of having my helpers who were able to, was it Walker, Paul, one of your teammates, calling him during that time, hey, Wes, man, I'm not feeling good. What is going on? My memory. And you had Brandy Winans on one of your prior podcasts. And Brandy, when I was leaving Duke that day, when I saw Dr. Morganlander, I lost my car in the lot in Duke. When I tell you that I walked around that lot for about 2 hours and I was convinced somebody stole my car out of a hospital parking lot. Brandy was on the phone with me the whole time, calming me down because I was getting anxious. I said, what do I do? And yeah, she was so patient. Obviously, her story with her husband, Jeff, and kind of like my caretaker helping me through, talked me off the cliff, and I found my car 2+ hours later. But she was a big resource to me when I was going through my darkest hours, and that first couple of months, something I would never want anybody to go through.
So I want to touch on that because we actually had Brandy and Susan, Corey's wife, on as caregivers. We just talked about the prior episode about caregivers. And you just mentioned, Brandy Winans actually had to get on the phone with you and kind of talk you off the ledge and talk you through things. Let me ask you a question, because right now you're talking like a New Yorker. You're talking a mile a minute, and you're very smart, very intelligent. You got this person, so you don't seem like you have other than maybe a little ADD, you don't seem like you have a brain injury. And then you also said about a couple of minutes ago that it was about 3 or 4 months of hell after that last concussion. To share with us how you've felt, what, for lack of a better word, what degenerated in those times post-concussion?
Oh, Jesus.
Well, you're already getting some things back. You're getting, so a big thing is executive function, right? We all, that's a buzzword for CTE or TES, probable CTE. We do lose executive function. We can't do 17 things at once. I never could, but, kind of talk us through those 3 or 4 months after the World Trade Center, one of the most devastating traumas.
Yeah.
And head traumas. You had the trauma in and of itself, for millions of people even watching on TV, but you had the trauma of the situation, not knowing what was going on, and you actually hit your head really hard, and you had repercussions of it.
Now, hold on a second.
Yeah.
He didn't hit his head really hard. Something hit his head really hard.
Yeah.
Right.
Let's not say he hit his head.
Right.
A block of concrete or whatever. I mean, I remember 9/11 like it was yesterday. I was in Portland, Oregon.
Mm.
I own my own trucking company, and I was unloading up there. And all of a sudden, we got notified, and we go into the lunchroom, and we're watching the news going, Jesus.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'll never forget, after that, instead of getting a load, I deadheaded home.
Mm.
Because I didn't know what was going on.
Right.
I need to get to my wife. I need to get to my kid. And the eeriness of driving home, because now there's no plane. Whoa, sorry, Lexi. There's no planes of any kind in the air or nothing like that.
Sure.
And it was just eerie getting home. And then I stayed home, I think, for 10 days. But, I mean, and then where were you on September 11th?
Oh, I was in Boston. We were working on the Joshua Fraze Foundation a gala that we have every year up there, and we literally were supposed to have meetings with Jim Pallotta and Tudor Investments. You might have known them, but anyway, yeah. And then we raced. I ran across the government center in my flip flops, and got one of the only remaining rental cars and zipped up to New Hampshire, and we camped out for a few days at my parents' house. So yeah, it was, so the trauma of that, and that's one thing that I recently realized, 3 or 4 years ago, that trauma doesn't have to be a bang on the head. It actually can be a divorce or loss of a child or so on and so forth. But talk about a little bit about your post trauma and how
the PTSD was very interesting. So 9/11, it was I call level 1 impact. I was I saw the plane hit the building. I was knocked out. I was directly, and I never understood the people that were getting therapy in the support groups. As I went to support groups, I couldn't do one-on-one therapy. I wasn't into that, go to see a therapist and all that kind of BS. So I was all about support groups, and I couldn't figure out why people that were residents of the neighborhood downtown were in these groups. I didn't realize that they were affected by the tragedy. I think I've started to learn more about how to deal with PTSD from the Oklahoma City bombing community. So they reached out to the New Yorkers, and they came up to visit us. We went down to Oklahoma City to meet with the family members, the survivors, and I started to learn more about all the people that are impacted. Now, fast forward 16 years later, I'm in Las Vegas doing the Mike Dempsey lifestyle of, okay, I'm going to Cal Ripken's golf event, and it was in Maryland, and then I'm flying to Las Vegas as a layover weekend because I got Scott Baio's charity golf outing Chachi on Monday, right? So I'm in Las Vegas for the weekend.
Was he a Brooklyn guy?
He's a Brooklyn guy,
Okay.
Chachi, yes. God, he lives in Florida. He moved from LA to Florida a couple of years ago. He's in Bradenton, helping his daughter as a junior golfer. So Scott's a good friend of mine. Yeah, we all love happy days, right? So, and Charles in charge. So, but that weekend, one of my best buddies growing up is a guy named Brett Raymer, who was on a TV show on Animal Planet called Tanked. They build aquariums for celebrities, although I never got a tank from Brett, but I used to help Brett get some other celebrities and help them on the show. But I wanted to be on the show so I could show up to my kids. Yeah, he's cool. He's on Animal Planet show. So we filmed a show that weekend, October 1st, 2017 weekend. I was staying at the Mandalay Bay because that's where I always stay. I do my high school football reunion there. Of course, we do it in Vegas, not Brooklyn, but for obvious reasons, Vegas is much more fun than Brooklyn to do guys' weekend. So I happen to be there. I don't know anything about country music. Okay, I'm sorry, Corey. You look like you're a country music fan. I don't know anything about. I'm from Brooklyn. I know Run DMC. I know I'm a rock Tom Petty kind of guy who actually died on October 2nd. That next day, and that was a tragedy for me, was losing Tom Petty. But I don't know anything about Route 91 concert. Don't know even what the first any of the headliners.
I just lost a little bit of respect. Millions live with depression, anxiety, fatigue, or emotional chaos, believing it's permanent. It's not. The Millennium Protocol targets hidden inflammation and hormone disruption caused by trauma, stress, and time. Created by Dr. Mark Gordon, featured multiple times on Joe Rogan and the Head Rush podcast, plus the documentary movie Quiet Explosions, this approach has transformed lives once written off as hopeless. Visit TBIHelpNow.org and take the 10-question brain health assessment. Healing is possible. Your story isn't over. Let's begin again with your brain.
I see those guys every year at a charity golf outing for Canada. I'm sorry, charity. We do with Canada for Cheryl, the Celebrity Charity Day, and I see Darryl McDaniels, and I love that Run DMC old school rap music from the 80s, the breakdancing days. But no, I mean, I didn't know anything about the concert, and I was actually at the hotel with a friend at the bar at Mandalay Bay, and all of a sudden we went outside. He could not find his way back to the Excalibur, which is like down the block, but there's a tram. I don't know the tram. So I said, Stevie, let's go outside, walk to Las Vegas Boulevard. We'll make a left. As we got outside, we heard pop, 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 thinking, oh, wow, cool fireworks, man. That's cool. Because there's a first night preseason game for the hockey team, the Golden Knights. So I thought it was something to do with that. And all of a sudden we heard sniper from somebody, and we're like, sniper, where? Like, you're looking up, you could hear, couldn't see it. But all of a sudden it got real quickly. And now within a half hour time, there's a delay for the response, as you know, from Las Vegas to figure out there was a shooting going on. But within a half hour, the whole Las Vegas was going crazy. We're in lockdown. And I'm saying to myself, how the hell did Mike Dempsey get in the middle of this one? All I was trying to do was have a nice, relaxing weekend in Vegas before seeing Chachi on Monday. And the PTSD, all the stuff I thought was buried, was kind of unraveled within 1 or 2 days. I mean, that night just completely messed me up. And it was funny because I call that level 3. So 9/11, I was level 1 impact, right? I was right under the World Trade Center plane getting hit. This was level 3. I wasn't at the concert. I can't call myself really a survivor of Las Vegas since I wasn't shot at the, so I kind of felt like I didn't identify in that community. But tell you what, I had a lot of issues recovering from that months later, just where you get that PTSD or just anxiety. I can't go to a concerts really anymore because I'm always looking around and you think something's going to happen. So I started to realize the impact of people within the tragedy when you're either in the middle of it or even an observer to it, and it can really change your life forever. So Oklahoma City, when you go down there to the memorial, it says something about where we're here to honor those who we lost, those who survived, and those who were changed forever. And that last part, changed forever, means could have been somebody blocks away, could have been residents, could have been people that were peripheral to the tragedy, but still were impacted for the rest of their lives. So that was kind of the first part. The mental health part was really, so you layer on the concussion stuff that I went through 2.5 years ago, and you start remembering I have underlying, obviously, PTSD and anxiety disorder. Now you put that in combination with the stuff that I'm going through with brain fog and short-term memory loss where I lost my car. I couldn't find my car. I lost my car keys. I mean, I did everything you could imagine where I just did not, and I still struggle short-term memory. When I play golf, you'd see in minutes how I tell everybody I play golf with, I will not be able to remember where my ball was hit in 20, 30 seconds. That's just the Mike Dempsey thing. They know that. I always tell my teams to get some awareness that I need some help. I don't usually have caddies in golf outings, but I kind of need the team members to be a little bit of that caddy to help me find my ball. Otherwise, I'm going to forget in 20, 30 seconds. So, but the sleep issues, I think, were first after the last concussion, the hardest. When you can't sleep, if you read the report I sent you from my doctor, that was my biggest issue, was when you're not sleeping properly, not getting rest, your executive functioning is nothing. So I had 3 or 4 months of hell. I started to see the light in 2024 when I started seeing a brain doctor named Dr. Robert Barrick, who's got this My Brain Doctor in Raleigh. And he started to do something called neurofeedback therapy. And I didn't hear, what is neurofeedback, biofeedback? And they put these sensors to your brain and I watched Seinfeld. You laugh. I watched that Seinfeld episode. My problem was I couldn't watch TV. I couldn't get through 15, 20 minutes without having that blacking out or ADD or whatever. I had short-term attention, couldn't read really on my phone, even read like a website, anything like that. I was having a lot of problems staying focused. So neurofeedback is designed to really rechannel, reprogram my brain. And I've done it for about a year and almost 2 years now. And I'm at the point where I can get through a half-hour episode without really having, can I get through an hour? Probably not. My goal is to be able to watch Law and Order. That's my wife's favorite show. I would like to be able to watch Law and Order for an hour and stay focused. I can't watch a 2-hour movie. Even the movie that I was watching this morning, documentary Quiet Explosions, I've had to go turn it on, turn it off again, watch 10 minutes at a time. I'm still building up, but neurofeedback has helped me quite a bit with helping my attention span and being able to stay focused. Now, the difference between Mike Dempsey after the concussion is that I would have a conversation with you and I would take you on I forget where I started. I would go in circles and kind of like my dad does. That is, it was a total Alzheimer's kind of discussion where I would kind of forget where I started and where now I think, you can kind of follow along better with where I'm going in a story where 2 years ago. So it's a progression. Will I ever be Mike Dempsey from before the concussion? I might not be. And he told me that. He said, Dr. Barrett said, Mike, we can't reverse the damage that's been done to your brain. And, when you look at the report from Boston University, obviously where I am on CTE level 3 or level 4, I know I'm pretty high up there. I'm like their famous guinea pig when I did the HOPE research study there. But I can function. And Wesley Walker functions. Paul, a lot of your teammates that have, you talk about Mark Astanou, yourself, we all function and we want to be able to get through our day-to-day with our families and be able to cope and do the day-to-day. And I know, Corey, you've talked a lot about your history of injuries. And, you may never be the same person you were before those head injuries, but we want to be able to get back to day-to-day where I can actually enjoy life, go on a trip with my daughter. And, I forget things, absolutely, but I am improving. And an improved version of who I was 2.5 years ago. I don't think I'll ever be the Mike Dempsey from 10 years ago, but that's okay. And I've just learned to understand what my limitations are. My family knows. My kids, when they travel with me, especially my younger daughter, so like a caretaker to help me go from point A to point B. So, because I do get very confused. Driving has been a challenge for me. Forgetting things without that GPS thing. Even the GPS, I still have some problems focusing on the road. So these are things that I've learned over the last 2.5 years of having TBI that, we can do things to improve. And, I'm doing this stem cell nasal treatment. Bernie Kosar has hooked me up with this Renewing Athletes' Lives. And they're designed to really help 100 retired athletes would regain clarity, regain focus, that brain fog that we lose, doing a simple nasal spray. And we put the spray up each nostril every morning, every evening. And I do it on a regular basis, and I've had some good days. I'm not going to say every day is good, but I've had some really good days, and it's helped Bernie throughout his, if you know his story between the liver transplant, his Parkinson's. Bernie's had 100 concussions and said, Mike, we got to get you onto this. I'm in the first group of 20 retired athletes who are on this clinical trial where they're giving us free stem cell nutrisomes. And it's really improved, at least my thinking, on a day-to-day basis. Not every day is great, but most days are better than they were before. So
this episode of the Head Rush podcast is brought to you by our personal doctor and team of doctors, Dr. Mizell DeMayo, and she's with the Paradise Behavioral Health, and we are in the
Brainwell program, which is also part of the Millennium Health Center. Dr. Mark Gordon, you've seen him on Joe Rogan and even on our show, the Head Rush podcast, and hormones. And Mizell is awesome. We love her.
She's our doctor of psychiatry. She works the Mark Gordon program with the hormones, and she adds her twist of genetics, and it basically is melding two wonderful mediums together, and we're getting great help from Dr. Mizell DeMayo.
So please check out her website at paradisebehavioral.com. Look up the Brainwell program. Get involved.
She's sponsoring us. They're sponsoring us for the next year, so we are excited to have them on board and shout the good news to everybody that is watching these broadcasts. So,
is she helping you, Paul?
Absolutely.
She's helping me. So go check her out. ParadiseBehavioralHealth.com.
One thing that we talk about frequently is one modality or one therapy might work for you, but it might not work for somebody else. And obviously you have found biofeedback or neurofeedback, and you feel that's helped you tremendously. Is that the case? Or
yeah, I didn't buy into it in the beginning. I was telling the girl yesterday when I was at the brain doctor, I said, the first 3 or 4 weeks, I said, it's mumbo jumbo. This is all. And then I started looking at the brain scans and looking at the improvement from this time that I started doing it to where I am now. Now, I know I'm still obviously a below an average person. What was scary was the neurocognitive test that I took after, I think the one I did at the Boston University for the research study. And when they tell you that you're 2 standard deviations below your peers, and I'm sitting there because I'm not a math guy, like I don't know what that means. I'm like, so I asked the guy, I said, is that good? He goes, no, that's not very good. I said, I don't know what that standard deviations, like, I don't know. Did I do that in algebra? I don't even know what that really means. He just said, you are well below. And I said, okay, so that's not a good result. And I tried my best. And I tell people there was some of those stuff in that exam. I don't think when you got to draw yourself out of the maze, I couldn't do that in my best days. I was one of those guys. What they give us back in the day? It wasn't the Wonderlic. It was some other, I know.
The Wonderlic or yeah. Well, I mean, they did
something like that. And I was bad.
Yeah.
I had one of the worst scores that probably, so I would say I was probably dumb from an IQ standpoint before all this stuff. So I just went from bad to worse, but I just never had that. I was very, I could book smart, I could memorize at the time, but when it came to like the common sense stuff, I just never had that. I was just being honest with myself, So, when you take these neurocognitive tests and you get 3, tests that I had done, Raleigh Neurology did it for me, and I did it at Duke, and I did it at Boston University, and all 3 of them kind of said, this guy's got some. So the neurofeedback, I haven't taken one recently, but I think I would hope I'd be improved where I was 2.5 years ago.
Let me ask you a question, because our therapist is actually sitting in the corner, and you were talking about therapy. I don't know about that, but one thing that Corey did, one modality, he did TMS, and he didn't know. I don't know that he really felt. I don't know. I think it's working. I'm not sure. But
I'm higher on the Richter scale. From what Mike just talked about after my car wreck, and right now I'm starting to flood a little bit,
Right.
but after my car wreck, for 3 months, I couldn't have a light on in the house. I couldn't have the TV on. I couldn't read. I couldn't sound. My wife couldn't talk to me. And for 3 months, and then slowly coming out of that, like what you were saying, it's a struggle. And I don't remember even a lot of that 3 months.
Right.
And it's just heart-wrenching, and the anger and the suicide ideation. I remember having woken up and felt the pressure and the taste of gunpowder in my mouth, and the air pressure of like shooting myself in the mouth. And just wanting to end it, or sitting up at the house and walk down to the round pen to my horse and get him and take him to the round pen and sit there at midnight just going, dude, is this the time do I want to survive tomorrow? Do I want to go through this another day? And this is not the life, because, us three, we live on a higher level. We're very type A, very competitive, very driven, and very goal orientated. And I lost all that. And even now, I struggle with being normal, what I call a normal life. And I talked to Crystal about it. But and me seeing a therapist is like taboo.
A cowboy.
Yeah, a cowboy seeing a therapist, that's like Pope walking
Don't
into
tell
a bar. It just don't happen. It's...
Unless it's time for a communion. So, no, sorry.
Red wine only.
Okay.
But you look at it, and what he is explaining is so dead on to how I feel. And I was diagnosed suspected CTE in 2016, 17, 18, 19, 20, 20. 6 years before my last major TBI. And my last major TBI in 2022 broke the camel's back. I've had 5 or 6 neurological exams. I have them every year now. And I just slowly decline. I don't even ask what grade anymore. All I do is look at the report and it says below average, executive function, below average. And it's like, okay, I'm becoming an idiot, but that's all right. We got to move on from that and not dwell on them negative aspects of these tests. But we need to know these tests because, and I'm going to jump on you again, Paul, you don't go take care of yourself. When was the last time you saw a neurologist? When was the last time you got a neurological exam?
After my strokes, probably.
Right. So, I mean, you don't even know what is that called? Baseline is anymore.
But I'm searching out modalities that will help me and have helped me. But I understand what you're talking about. But what I was getting at with the TMS, your therapist said you were taking incremental steps of improving.
Right.
Yeah. So that's
and everybody, my therapist, my vestibular, my Zell DeMeo, and my wife has said TMS has helped me.
Right.
So why haven't you looked into stuff like that?
I don't know. I'm just I'm too busy flying to Dallas. Then I go back and get a permit for a big house that I'm building on, and trying to keep the wheels on a company and build.
And with all of this, stuff going on, what's one thing Paul's not realizing? Hold on a second, Mike. What is it? What is it, Mike? Hold it quiet. What is it? What is he not realizing?
What does he not realize? Okay,
Yeah.
I'm gonna.
That I'm stuttering and I'm losing ground, or what? What?
You get off track so easy.
Oh no, I'm yeah.
And
I did too.
right, and you're spinning all your wheels.
Oh yeah.
You're a squirrel.
And I'm not doing anything really efficiently, but I'm doing a lot. Well, yeah. Okay.
So maybe going and sitting for 20 minutes doing that TMS may help you.
It might.
Did it help when you sit down and talk to Crystal?
Yeah. Absolutely helps. Having somebody sit down and evaluate you and hear your issues and how you could take a left turn and once in a while.
Crystal just looks at me a lot of times, just said, "You're screwed, dude. Deal with it." Stop. CTE.org proudly sponsors the Head Rush podcast.
Karen and Doug Ziegel, they are founders. Karen founded the Patrick Grisha CTE Awareness Foundation, and they are one of the most comprehensive websites regarding repeated head impacts and chronic traumatic encephalopathy. They work with legislature. They've been doing this for about 10 years.
They're the grandparents of CTE in my book. So don't knock it. StopCTE.org.
Well, I'm hearing that a little birdies say that we have access to neurofeedback. So I'm pleased to hear you say, Michael, that you had some benefits from it. So.
Well,
so many therapies. I'll be honest, but the challenge for brain therapy for most patients, and let's be straight up about it, is that brain doctors can be very expensive. When I started looking before I met Dr. Barrick, you go in for a consultation and you get I had an $800 bill from some lady in Charlotte I met at a golf outing that I thought was just taking me for a free consultation. I get a bill for $850, and I don't even know what the hell she did for the whole hour. There's a lot of, because it's not covered by insurance. As you know, a lot of brain therapies, they don't cover. So I was definitely up for doing hyperbaric. I had a guy that helped Joe Delamere from the Bills. And but all this stuff is going to cost me thousands of dollars. And of course, some of those treatments I was not prohibited from doing because of the cost. And that's what the one unfortunate result of the therapy is. You have to find people that really are willing to help you. And I was very fortunate that Dr. Barrick has helped me. With Bernie Kosar's folks from Renewing Athletes' Lives, that the stem cell stuff, which cost me thousands of dollars, is pro bono. So I've been fortunate that those therapies it's funny, the ones that are pro bono have been the most helpful. And I wish I would have done anything that could help Mike Dempsey improve his life, but within a cost parameter of not breaking the bank. Of course, I had to, some things I just could not do for myself.
Well, and that's it. I mean, I have one of the best neurologists in the nation with Jeremy Tenner that works right close with Ann McKee and them. And I see him every year, and that's thousands of dollars.
Goodness.
And he does MRIs, he does CAT scans, he does neurological exam. I mean, I'm there for a week every year.
That's insurance.
Right, that's insurance. But you look at Mizell DeMayo, Dr. Gordon, and TMS was covered through insurance. You look at therapy. So the stuff I'm doing that insurance covers, but hopefully with the new MAGA movement and MAGA health, that maybe the hyperbaric will start coming into play. Maybe, Texas just approved a $50 million study for Ibogaine, the first state in America. And believe me, I'm trying to reach out to Rick Perry and UT Health right now going, I know 90% of it's for veterans, but hey, I want to do this because I can't afford to go spend $8,000 to go to Mexico. And you look at all the modalities, the neurofeedback, you look at all the stuff that insurance don't cover. That's everything that helps you.
Yeah.
All the supplements that we take, I spend probably $200 a month on supplements.
Right.
That insurance would be like, Pregnenolone? Nah, you don't need that. So yeah, there needs to be more awakening, more movement to get more modalities available for people through insurance, I believe.
Well, you mentioned the veterans community, Corey, too. I've been very involved with them through merging veterans with players. That's Nate Boyer started that about 5-6 years ago. And that veteran community, God, some of the head injuries some of those guys I'd met have had. And we started this merging veterans with players. A great movie. I think it's on Amazon Prime as well. Talks about the whole commonality between retired football players and veterans and some of the things we've experienced and athletes, and getting that kind of learning more about what they've gone through and their struggles with the VA. And we've struggled with, I'm not going to talk too badly about the NFL concussion settlement and some of these other, but there's a lot of commonality there. And I think, having that peer support, as I mentioned with 9/11, Oklahoma City became my brothers. Who would think Brooklyn, New York guy, people from Oklahoma City could help? The veterans are helping the NFL guys now. Isn't that incredible? So the more people that I speak to that have had great ideas on new therapies or things that help them, I think that's what it's all about. Again, finding your helpers. My whole life has been, my resiliency is only enabled by people that have helped me along from very beginning, when I mentioned how I even got the opportunities to play professional football by helpers. Everything in my life has been, you can call me a hustler, or you can call me an opportunist. I call myself an opportunist. And how you build resiliency is you take those chances, because you get those opportunities once in a lifetime. So I'm an opportunist. Somebody gives me something like, hey, Mike Hugersholm has helped Bernie Kosar take this spray and see how it is. I jumped on it because, you know what? I got nothing else to lose.
You got to get us hooked up on it.
Mike, let's reverse that. Who would have thought that an Oklahoma City guy could be helped by a Brooklyn guy, right?
That's true. Yeah,
they couldn't.
We've had some 3 times,
They couldn't.
We're up against it, and unfortunately, this hour has gone really fast. But I want to hear. And there's 25 charities that you are listed in on your website.
Well, before we go there, let's talk about the veterans he just talked about and repeated blast exposure. We had Mac Parkman on, who's a Green Beret. We've had Andrew Marr on.
Mm-hmm.
We've had a couple veterans that are bad to the bone.
Yeah.
I tell you what, I wouldn't go against any of them in a dark alley.
No.
And you know what Mac Parkman say? They finally acknowledge RBE as a symptom, as a diagnosis, repeated blast exposure. But you know what they offer? Pills, and maybe yoga. Ain't that what he said?
Yeah.
And it's like
no neurofeedback, no neurosomes, or what it's
Okay. Well, you mentioned the Green Berets. So today's birthday, Nate Boyer played for Seahawks 1 year. He was a Green Beret, played for Texas Hook'em, right, and played in the NFL. And he's definitely done a lot to really help that veteran community as well. So I think, like I said, he'll be another guy that's been on both sides of the NFL side and also as a vet. And I agree that. Back to your question, Paul, about charities, Gridiron Greats. Coach Ditka started that to help retired players with traumatic head injuries. This was about 15 years ago, and I've been involved with them from the very, very beginning with Coach Ditka. And now we have a lot of help from guys like Mike Golick, Brian Urlacher, guys like that really continued on the mission. And that's really one of the ones I support the most. Obviously, Super Bowl week, I'll be at their cigar party, but that organization has really been there from the very beginning. That's where I met Chris Nowinski. That's where I met everybody. Was really through that Gridiron Greats Assistance Fund. And Coach Ditka has really done so much, left a legacy to really help others, really get help, because there's a lot of our guys. You mentioned, Paul, your 11-year career. A lot of the guys like me are in that not for long category, right? Mm-hmm. I used to the average of 3.5 years. I thought it was 2. Now I'm really depressed. I only had 2. But, you look back at the privilege to play the game you love. But a lot of us that played the game for a short period of time, I have another guy, Next Jets, want to connect you with him, lives in Raleigh, and he's been played a couple seasons like me, and he's had some severe issues, mood swings, a lot. His journey is something that I really want to connect you guys and have him as a guest, him and his wife, who's been his caretaker, because his name is Jay Hagood, and Jay is an inspiration to me. He has really hit rock bottom and been coming back, and he's doing really great right now. So a lot of us in that category, and the fact that not all of us had that Hall of Fame career like others, but a lot of us that are sort of in that middle or lower tier, we're suffering. So the fact that we can help others, and I've been blessed to have, like, again, those helpers. If I didn't have that, I wouldn't be where I'm at right now. I know that I'd be a statistic. And for my girls that are 21 and 23, I want to live another 20, 30 years. But I didn't think that way 2 years ago. I was self-medicating. Alcohol was my poison. Being Irish, you can tell. Drinking became the immediate thing I had after the concussion. I drowned in alcohol at golf outings, and Mark Wahlberg's and a few others where I don't remember I've had blackouts. And the blackouts from alcohol are similar to the blackouts I'd have. I would tell you that the 4 or 5 months after my concussion, 23, is really literally a blackout for me. I don't remember a lot of anybody I met or hung out with or any of the events. I can only look at Facebook and look at pictures and videos and kind of recreate that 4 or 5 months. It's literally like an alcoholic blackout that I had. And it's scary to think about, like, losing 3 or 4 months of your life where you can only look back at pictures and you don't even really remember even being there. Like, did I fly there? Did I drive there? And that's a scary part. So again, I'm looking at this like, who I was before these concussions and who I am now. I'm proud of where I'm at now, the Rocky story, having like the boxing, you get knocked down, you get back up again, but we got to keep fighting. And, it's up to me to now pay it forward so that others can have that ability. Because I know too many guys become statistics. We know how many veterans commit suicide, and we know how many guys who play football that have dark, deep depression after the playing days are over.
Well, we've got to end this on an uptick and a word of hope. And you started going there. Give us a word of hope that we can share with our audience.
Well, you got to complete. To me, everything in my life has been the football. I got to complete the story when I started playing flag football and playing boxing. I got to get in the ring at 51 years old and finish my story. And I want to finish the story from brain health. I want to be, I'm not done with contributing to charities and doing, spreading good things and helping others. And that's kind of what I'm all about. Every chapter of my life, it was baseball, football, boxing. I'm not going to wrestle WrestleMania, by the way. That's not happening. Some rocking up the ring. But other than that.
Hold it. You could wrestle Chris Harvard in WrestleMania.
I don't want to wrestle Chris Nowinski. No, I think no, I'm not doing that either. He's a bit, but I think everything I want to make create new chapters and be a positive influence on others. And that's what the charitable work I've done is all about, is helping others. 9/11, people helped me. I wanted to pay it forward. Now, when you had all these other tragedies like Vegas and Parkland shooting, we helped others with my 9/11 charity. You got to keep paying it forward. So now brain health has become a mission for me, Gridiron Greats and other charities, to make sure, and renewing athletes' lives, just to make sure that people like in my situation have the means and get the benefits that I've gotten. I've had a lot of great therapies and people that have come out to help me, and I want to make sure other people get the same benefits that I've had. So
kind of sounds like karma, because what comes around goes around. It sounds like you do a lot for people, and I'm glad you've had the opportunity to receive.
So before we end this, tell us a little bit about renewing athletes with Bernie Kosar, because that's a big thing right now.
Father-daughter team, Michael and Erin Crowley, the Crowley Center for Regenerative Biotherapeutics, and they're out of Rochester. You mentioned Elmira, they're Rochester. And they have helped Bernie for the last year and a half. When I tell you that Bernie, when he was going through the worst of the worst with his liver failing, his clarity and brain focus, you would never know the guy who was going through life and death situation at the time. So I kept asking him, how are you doing all this stuff? You're in Miami, you're in Cleveland, you're back and forth. And it was really this stuff that he's been using. And he said, Mike, I need to help you. And this is when he was going to the liver transplant. Wanted to make sure that Mike Dempsey was in that first group of 20 people. You need this, bro. you need to get your brain together. I can't understand you when you talk on the phone. I'm like, I think I just talk too fast, like a book. And I go, well, you make no sense, Mike. You need this. So I've been doing it for the last 2 months, and it's been helping. And I'm not going to say I'm 100%, but I'm getting back there to where. I'm really blessed, and I hope other retired players can get the benefit of what renewing athletes' lives is all about, and helping others. And I've learned all about the stem cells, the Warden jelly. That's where it's derived from, and all the benefits. And I don't have to go to South America to get, like other people have had to do the last couple of years. So this the home twice a day, and I'm really blessed that they came into my life.
Well, if Corey and I could track you for the last hour, you are doing pretty darn good. So thank you.
I appreciate that. I've gotten a lot better. My podcast, you should see me a year and a half ago. I did one, and I don't remember what I said. I made no sense. I think I've been a little bit more better today than I was in prior.
Well, this was great. Yeah, you should see us a year ago.
And if you want to get Mike's full story, go to MikeDempsey.com, and you'll get his full story, his bio, everything about him.
It's actually the MikeDempsey.com. The MikeDempsey.com domain would have cost me $5,000. The Mike Dempsey cost me $15. So I went with the Mike.
So go to the MikeDempsey.com.
Absolutely. Good. Hey, thank you, brother.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Go Jets.
No.
Yes.
Oh no, we gotta get those poor guys some.
Are they even in the playoffs?
Oh no! Oh gosh!
Okay, but with my Buccaneers
so you say go Jets?
The Buccaneers did.
My Buccaneers beat the Panthers, and then they got knocked out of these. I have no luck with football teams, so I might just root for the Panthers since I live in North Carolina. So I got to pick some team for the playoffs.
Well, you played for them, didn't you?
Who?
Panthers?
No. The Jaguars.
And Jaguars, Jets, Green Bay,
Baltimore,
or Ravens. That bird, not the. Okay.
Yeah, that big.
I think both Jaguars have. I think it's going to be the Jaguars and the Patriots in the AFC. I can't say who's going to win that one, but
it was us in the AFC in '96, and Belichick cheated, of course. So anyway,
he did. He did.
Your story, you tell it any way you want.
I'm telling you, we went up there and it was freezing cold, and the lights went out at halftime for an hour, like 45 minutes, and you were like, okay, we were winning. We were winning until the last 6 minutes.
And you think that's bad? I just watched
maybe not
a podcast with JB Mooney on it.
Yeah,
JB Mooney's like a great bull rider, $7 million bull rider.
Right.
And he was talking about getting on the baddest bull bushwhacker in Decatur, Texas.
Right.
And they opened up the latch and the lights went out.
Oh.
And he strapped onto this bull and the lights went out.
So nobody saw the ride.
He didn't make it.
No, he didn't make it 8 seconds. Oh, God.
So thank you so much, Mike. We appreciate it. It's a blast having you on. We're going to have you on again just because we're running out of time, but maybe next month or the month after, if you don't mind coming back on.
Of course.
And I just want to say thank you, Paul. And, I like bringing people like Mike and Roy and them out. And you finish this up.
You know why we do this. We do this to help others. We bring doctors. We bring CEOs of new technologies and companies on. We bring therapists. We bring people like Mike who have helped support all of these issues, and sports figures like Mike. And we've had some of the best. So, and it's been an incredible 2025. We're already into 2026, and it's going to get even better, and we're going to be able to help people. We've got some big news coming up, literally probably in the next episode where you and I just sit around and rap a little bit.
No, that's a couple episodes back, dude.
Well, anyway, so I this pre-taping and all that stuff, who knows where it goes, right? But we appreciate everything you do as our guests, and of course we implore people to like, share, keep our information relevant, and and share the awareness of repeated head impacts, because you know what? There's 3.5 million plus per year for traumatic brain injuries and repeated head impacts. The traumatic brain injury in the United States, and chances are you're going to be affected by TBI. So get ready, get information, get knowledgeable about what you can do, and thank you, Mike, for being on, and we will absolutely would love to have you back. Good luck at the Super Bowl. Can I say that? Or is this this is okay. This is gonna air after this anyway. So
I'll be out there Super Bowl week. I'll be with Dr. Barrick, who's promoting Concussion 911 to help kids. Obviously, it's a supplement that helps after a concussion to make sure you rebound. One thing I didn't get after my concussion, my last one, is I didn't get immediate care. So by not getting that, it affected me worse. So he's all about having a supplement that helps bounce back. So when you take it within 24 hours, you're better. The Concussion 911 thing, I think, is going to change lives, and he's got it out on Amazon and other mechanisms. And I hopefully will be a future guest and kind of talk more about how he can help kids and athletes in high school and college and professionals so that they don't have to have the bad effects of concussions like we did.
He's the doctor that was at Mac Parkman, wasn't
Right.
he? Yeah.
Send him our number, man. I'll be more than happy to bring him on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, you met him in Tampa. Yep.
Yeah.
You met him in that conference. Yep.
Awesome. Thank you, brother.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Have a good one.
This podcast is for general information only and does not constitute the practice of medicine. The use of this information and the materials linked to this podcast is at the user's own risk. The content of this podcast is not intended to be a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Users should not disregard and delay in obtaining medical advice from any medical condition they have, and they should seek the assistance of their healthcare professionals for any such conditions.